I'm AlexofAllTrades, and this is the Sunday Book Circle for Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Annihilation is a written account by an unnamed female biologist who is part of a team of 4 other women, the leader, a psychologist, an anthropologist, a surveyor, and a linguist, all meant to explore a specific strange location known as Area X. Before going, the linguist drops out. None of the women are named or described in much detail. Area X is secluded from the rest of the world and has abandoned buildings, some of them homes, some of them military, and one being a lighthouse. The biologist goes into detail on the strange life and evidence found in Area X, including the strange behavior of her and her fellow team members. Not long after entering Area X, the team finds a tunnel with a spiral staircase that the biologist refers to as a tower. The mystery of Area X and what drove the biologist to volunteer for its exploration are both examined by her. Annihilation is the first novel in the Southern Reach trilogy. I love this book. I love it. I saw the movie first, but this book is so much more than that movie. Not in the way that some of the controversy would first have you believe, though. I've read that the biologists and the psychologists are meant to be Asian or mixed-race Native American, so the casting of Natalie Portman and Jennifer Jason Leigh was considered whitewashing. But a reader can't tell that from this first novel, and the casting was colorblind. It's more that the character of the biologist is different in the novel in a way that has nothing to do with ethnicity. And while I like Natalie Portman, her performance and the biologist as written for the movie do not capture what I loved about the biologist as written by Vandermeer. I'm a strange woman. I'm not highly emotional, nor do I form emotional attachments easily. I'm polite enough because I don't see a reason not to be, but I can be brusque or just non-responsive. I don't hardly know what I'm feeling in a given moment, which is part of the reason that I tend to not be very expressive of my personal feelings. Now, all that seems in huge contrast to my easy laughter and my ability to sound emotional for this channel, but I actually have to work at considering my emotions and being emotive about things. I can very easily, in my day-to-day life, not seem to have a single emotion. I do have emotions. They're just buried under a mountain of internal logical debates. I'm extremely analytical and basically spend the majority of my time planning, categorizing, collecting data, etc., etc. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a biologist and focus on marine mammals. I have a lot of Excel spreadsheets to track data about my projects and health and have 6 task tracking accounts on 4 different websites. I don't know a lot of people like me. I haven't met a single woman like myself in that regard. I read a lot of books, obviously, and I've basically only seen myself in male characters. A few years ago, I started watching The Fall and fell in love with Gibson because there was a woman I could connect to. Reading The Biologist was like looking into a literary mirror. I can imagine that some people might consider The Biologist to be inauthentic, maybe not feminine enough, but I swear I've never felt more recognized in my life. The biologist is so compartmentalized from her emotions, but she does feel them. She looks at the world and sees patterns and makes conclusions based on evidence. Her imagination is incredibly strong, and when she does feel something, she trusts it. I'm not as expressionless as the biologist may seem, but God do I love her. The fact that she withdraws into herself when her relationship is on the rocks, the fact that when something is ending, she starts to self-destruct, both show how deeply emotional she actually is. The way she thinks and explains her thoughts is incredible and so startlingly familiar. Before I read Annihilation or watched the movie, I had finished the first draft of my second novel, wherein a man remakes his wife as an android. The android, at first, is incredibly devoid of emotion and mostly devoid of emotive affectation. It wasn't until writing this Sunday Book Circle that I realized that personality-wise, there is a lot of connections between Vandermeer's biologist and my android. I certainly wouldn't call my novel derivative, though, since the idea for the character came long before I'd ever heard of Annihilation, and because while there is a lot in Annihilation about the biologist and her husband, it is not the main focus of this novel. The plots of the novels are nothing alike, and I will speak more on the plot of Annihilation in the spoiler section. At one point, the biologist describes her childhood. Her parents were not very good parents. When describing her long amount of time watching the pool, it is obvious to a reader that she was left alone a lot as a child. The casual mentioning of moving multiple times suggests that her home life also wasn't stable. Both of these things factor into how she connects with other people as an adult and how withdrawn she is. Research shows that many emotionally distant adults had emotionally neglectful childhoods. These people have a hard time connecting with others while still wanting emotional connection. Identifying and expressing their own emotions is difficult. They enjoy the company of animals more than people and often suffer from anxiety. And I feel so attacked right now. This can be caused by permissive, authoritarian, absentee either by choice or by poverty, or emotionally neglectful parents. To be honest, I don't see anything wrong with being less emotive or connecting with people less. The idea that introverts have to change for the rest of the world to be accepted by others is a bit bullshit. I think instead the rest of the world needs to be more tolerant of differing personalities. On the subject of the psychologist's hypnotism technique, she must have supplemented with drugs or something because I've actually been hypnotized before. When I was a teenager, I went to a state fair hypnotism act, and there is a video of me being hypnotized and painting an adult man's nails. I remember all of it, too. There was a point in the show when the hypnotist gave each of us a trigger word paired with a behavior and sent us back into the audience. My trigger word was genie, and I was meant to run to the nearest bald man and tell him my most ardent desire, which at the time I believe was not wanting to die alone. Looking back on this now, I think it was wrong of him to give this kind of command to a minor, but I doubt he realized I was one. While he was instilling the command, I found the idea immediately repugnant and thought over and over, there's no fucking way I'm doing that. No, absolutely not doing it, no. So the whole time he was trying to set up this behavior, I was mentally fighting it. At the time, I hated being touched and touching other people, especially those I don't know well. So the idea was repugnant for that alone. But the idea of telling an adult man my most secret desire was horrifying on a whole other level. When I went out into the audience, I passed a bald man and made sure my eyes never actually landed on him. When the hypnotist gave my trigger word, I avoided looking in the bald man's direction. My whole body tensed as the compulsion came over me. I didn't move. The hypnotist released me, but came back to me later, and when he gave the trigger word the second time and I tensed again, he then pointed out the bald man. I whipped my head to stare at the bald man, but I didn't move. I'm not sure I've ever felt that kind of whole body tension ever or since. The hypnotist released me again and I relaxed. He did not try it again. The hypnotist had said that people won't do things they truly, honestly won't want to do. But God, he never mentioned the fight it would take to resist. It was like a damn imperious curse. I'm not saying that the psychologist's command of the individuals is impossible. I'm saying it is improbable. Now I'm going to talk spoilers, so skip ahead to get my final thoughts. The sense that Area X alters people that enter it and duplicates them to replace the originals that are no longer strictly human is haunting. On a literal level, the implications are terrifying and brings to mind Invasion of the Body Snatchers or similar paranoia-based narratives. However, Area X is contained, unlike typical paranoia narratives, which tend to be about a mass change. Even the Stepford Wives is in some way bigger and more unknown. Area X is being studied by people who know what they are doing. Somewhat, anyway. These aren't typical people going into Area X, and they are entering knowing something will be off or strange. That makes this narrative much more distinctive. The fact that the project heads are frequently lying to the excursion teams about the number of previous excursions is believable, even if we, the reader or the biologist, can't fathom their reasoning behind such an action. The pile of diaries is frightening. All these meticulous accounts moldering away. The futility of it. It means no one ever got back in their right mind because no one ever brought back their journal. But the people running the excursion keep making the people do the same things before and during their journeys into Area X. While Area X is frightening, the people behind the excursions are scarier. Their intent, their actions, and their identities are complete mysteries. And we can see some of the lines they are willing to cross with the psychologist and what she did to the anthropologist. So Annihilation is actually layered with mystery. What is Area X and how did it come to be? Why are the people behind the excursions making the decisions they are? And of course, will the biologist find her husband? I don't think so. I don't think he's alive to be found. I doubt that anyone survives in Area X, and if anyone ever does, it is an exception. My hope is to see more of the biologist. Not so much any of the other characters, including her husband. As much as she loved him, made obvious by her decision to go to Area X and forge ahead on her own to find him, I don't believe their relationship was a good one. They really didn't understand each other, which is only sad if she doesn't acknowledge it and move on. Obviously, I will be reading Authority as well, so I'll see if the biologist survives and grows as a person. I hope so. Overall, I loved this book. I think that's clear by my long-winded gushing over the main character. The mystery was intriguing, and of course I'm excited to read the next novel and know more about it, if there is more to know. I believe this is one of the better sci-fi novels I've read, reminding me of William Slater and the sensation of clear scientific theory I got while reading House of Stairs, or Stevenson's Anathema. I know there's this idea that sci-fi is a boys' club, and the women writing it get short-thrifted, but I'm not sure where that attitude comes from, nor does it detract from the very real good work some of the male writers of the genre have done. Besides, I think those people have never heard of, let alone read, Margaret Cavendish's The Description of a New World Called a Blazing World, or acknowledge the prevalence of strong female characters, often the main character, that the genre has, which has continued into other mediums of the genre. Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation is a great addition to the genre, and to the tradition of female main characters that should not be overlooked. But what did you think of Annihilation? Did you love the biologist and her subdued emotions as much as I did? Did you feel disconnected from the narrative because of this? Was the mystery engaging? Was the science interesting? Let me know in the comments below, and please mark all spoilers. Would you like to see what I'm currently reading? Follow me on goodreads.com/AlexofAllTrades to see what I'm reading right now and what book reviews you can expect in the future. I've made a Discord. I'm on it all the time, and you're all invited to chat with me. There are channels for video games, movies, TV shows, books, and writing. Even a place for you to promote your own things. Join me there. Everyone is welcome. This has been the Sunday Book Circle, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe, click that bell, leave a comment below, visit my blog at empatheticwriter.wordpress.com, and follow me on Patreon for exclusive content and a shout out on a video. Merch, 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 merch. Merch. Yeah. Check out my new shop at cafepress.com/AlexofAllTrades for all kinds of products with my face on them.